Hi everybody. So yes, I am still mucking around with the settings on my phone and I have no idea what I'm doing as far as framing it goes. So that's why there's like so much stuff at the top of my frame. Sorry, I'm bad at this. You would think after 4 years I would be better, but I'm just not. All right. It's GARBAUGUST, yay! And my family and I just went for an absolutely enormous lunch. So if I look like I'm overstuffed, I feel like, you know that opossum that broke into the bakery and ate all the cakes but gives no fucks, and it's just like, oh, lying in the corner of the bakery box? That's how I feel right now. So all right, first week of GARBAUGUST. The subject this week was anything goes. So I chose a couple of stories this week. Now the first one, and I had bought the audiobook Tea Cozy Mysteries, but I cannot remember the author off the top of my head. I'm very sorry. And so there's 6 books, stories. They're kind of long stories, but short books in the series. So the first one is called, what was the first one called? I cannot remember the first call. Oh no. Well, each one has, basically each one revolves around this lady that owns a tea shop, and she grows all the ingredients in her garden. And so this, the premise of this one was this lady, she's waiting for a gentleman caller, and she hears, you know, a crash from her sunroom or whatever, the next room over, and she goes out, she looks, and there's this kitten. But the kitten has blood all over its teeny little paws, so she has to figure out what the heck happened. So it turns out that her gentleman caller, who also happens to be the local realtor, and who is holding the reverse mortgage on her house, excuse me, because that's a thing when you're old, he's been murdered. Pardon me. But because, you know, he was there to see her, she's the one who found him. Of course, she is the most ready suspect. But of course she didn't do it. And the kitten didn't do it either. So so that, I guess, does mark the bingo square for Alice and Cozy Mystery with cats. The next book that I read is one of the Sweet Valley High books in honor of Francine Pascal, who passed away a couple weeks ago, and who had quite a lot of influence over ladies of a certain age like myself. We women of Gen X are not immune to the charms of Sweet Valley High, I'm sure. And this one was Kidnapped! Kidnapped! And it has an exclamation point in the cover, so that's another bingo, another square on the bingo card that I was able to mark off. Like I said, I wasn't really, this year for GARBAUGUST, I'm not really aiming to get too many of the bingo cards, just because it's very, very hard to concentrate in my living situation. So I read what I read when, you know, when I can read it, kind of thing. So the premise of this one was Jessica's on her way to a party, and she's waiting for Elizabeth, who's supposed to give her a ride. But Elizabeth is doing good stuff. She volunteers at the hospital as a candy striper, and she's also helping out the local bad boy musician with his English, because his father told him he won't be allowed to party with the band anymore if he doesn't bring up his grades. So, but Jessica never shows up for the tutoring session, and it turns out that she has been kidnapped in the parking lot of the hospital where she works. So now everybody has to race around to find Elizabeth before it's too late. And it's wrapped up pretty quickly. Sorry, it was raining and now it's like bright and sunny, so I don't know what's going on here. I'm gonna open up a window. It's pretty typical, you know, it moves really quickly and then it kind of ends with the suggestion of what's going to happen in the next book. But, you know, it's Sweet Valley High. It's not anything overly taxing or intellectual. There's a formula to it. You know, the girls have conflict, and then they find out they actually do like each other, and, you know, they argue about clothes or whatever, right? I don't know. The other book that I read this week was called The Devils of D-Day by Graham Masterton. Now, unfortunately, I don't have another tablet here, so I can't show you the absolutely awesome cover art from probably, I would say probably an 80s release. Now, the book came out in 1979, but the modern cover doesn't have it, but it's absolutely glorious. It's like this, you know, fire in the background and this Sherman tank with this multi-eyed devil kind of hanging over top of it, and I really do wish that the modern art looked like that, but it doesn't. It's over on my Instagram if anybody wants to check it out. I can I gotta remember to put the link in the doobly-doo. So the premise is, it's about this guy, his name's Dan, and he goes to this little town in France, and it's called, I can't pronounce it, but it looks like Dewilly, D''Oiully, Douillet, but no, it's Dewilly. And there's a young woman there named Madeline who, her mother passed away. She's pretty sure that whatever's in the tank killed her, and it tends to curdle eggs and milk. And the people, the farmers around this thing have been just kind of getting around it. Now, the reason this tank is in this small little town in France is that as D-Day approached, the Americans somehow got leave from the Vatican to call up all of these medieval French devils who have been held captive in France. They've only ever been called on a couple other times. One was for Joan of Arc, and one was another one, I can't remember. But they're in this like rolling Sherman tanks. There's 13 of them, and they rolled them through France, but this particular tank, for whatever reason, broke down in this tiny little town, and they just sealed it off with a bunch of incantations and crucifixes and just left it where it was. So now, for some reason, Dan the cartographer has found it and goes, hey, let's open it up. Because, you know, souring milk and scaring the crap out of the townspeople just is a reason to open anything, right? So he enlists the help of the local cardinal or whatever he is, who of course ends up dying because they unleash a goddamn demon on this tiny little town. And it turns out that the demon wants to get back to his 12 friends and call up the big over demon. And so they go to England, and, you know, chaos ensues, hilarity ensues. It's pretty satisfying. And it's, I mean, obviously the way I describe it, it's ridiculous, but no, it's a pretty good read. It's only about 200 pages. It's got a pretty good like a satisfying conclusion. Although the story kind of made me think it was going to be a little bit bigger, a little more epic, but there's also a dire warning at the very beginning that these demons exist. You better not try any of these incantations. So that was my week. And I also got some mail. My contributors' copies of Garbology arrived. I'm so excited to read them. 34 thrilling news stories inspired by GARBAUGUST, the annual reading event created by Criminali that's become a booktube sensation. Demonic lovers, terrifying tots, murderous critters, rampaging cryptids, saucy shenanigans, doomed soldiers, remorseless criminals, horrifying technology, and even the shudder-inducing final rave at the end of the world. crime, pulp, horror, that kind of thing. And no, my British accent is terrible. It's not even Ollie's accent, sorry. But yeah, I am really looking forward to reading this. Probably read it very slowly. I probably won't have a review for some time, but I have already read my story elsewhere on this channel. And you know, if there's any Garbology contributors who don't feel like reading their own story, I am more than happy to read it for them, like as an out loud, let me read you a story. So hit me up, let me know. And the other okay, this one I could not resist the cover. Jeff O'Brien's The Everlasting Knob Slobber. Isn't that a great cover? And there's some green on the cover, so we're gonna honor the other contributor. Oh no, I'm so sorry, I've forgotten her name. Oh no. Okay, it's one of the bingo squares anyway. I am deeply sorry. She passed away last year, and her name is, I'm sorry, I'm terrible with names. But she is a bingo square this year, and I've got some green on the cover. Okay, so now that I've made an asshole of myself, I'm gonna read the blurb. Grindcore sucks now more than ever. Local men are turning up dead all over town. It appears that their innards have been extracted from their bodies in a most unusual way. When the epidemic of high strangeness spreads through the grindcore scene, it's up to Tiger, Millie, and a local band called Beef Blaster to save the day. There might be a talking giant grouper fish involved as well. Warning, don't read this book if you don't like descriptions of boobs and dicks and basically anything else that is awesome, you irascible Puritan. So, looking forward to that, and I'll be reading that for the Sex and Violence Week. I'm kind of slowly working through that Bourne book, but it's not very good. It's just not my thing. But I do have some other things planned for the romance and maybe the men's adventure as well. So, and I'm terribly sorry I cannot remember the name of the lady that passed. Why can't I remember that? It's completely escaped me. I'm so sorry. Anyway, on that sour note, somebody give me her name in the doobly-doo, please. I hope you're enjoying Garbaugust. I hope you're reading lots of horror, and have a great day.